I think I'm not going to talk why maps are important because of a lot of the discussion has been done, even mind-blowing. Even I learned a lot of the things about the maps because we are only looking into the use of the maps, but I didn't know all the characteristics and high potential there. So this is very really the open up the entire different landscape. And I'm going to talk a bit on that, why drylands are very important, because of I've been working about nearly about 15 years in the dry areas of the world and across the traveling up nearly about 57 countries. And wherever I go there, of course, green revolutions or anything's come up, we saw that wherever irrigation comes, we go for the commercial crops like rice and wheat or something irrigated crops. But end of the day, we end up spoiling that landscape. That is common in everywhere. I was in Iran, Iraq, and Mesopotamian regions and Nile Delta, as well as Amud area, Syria, and Central Asia. Wherever that irrigation comes, after 30, 40, 50 years, that land becomes completely saline or alkaline. So that is why I see that those land also becoming, even a lot of the European or American, the peninsula also, they are looking into the decommissioning the dams because of they are really destroying the landscape in the big way. And that's where we're shifting from the storing the water reservoir and pulling back to the landscape to irrigate, where how best to store the water in the landscape itself. So that will be the main focus. We are going to do that. So it's very clear that when I look into the different landscape I can travel, that is my travel landscape of the world. And we did quite a bit of the work on the yesterday, Dr. Rao and telling about the story of the taxonomist when they go to the field. We come across so much of the funny story. Sometimes ostrich is chasing us, sometimes the bears is chasing us when doing the field survey, and sometimes even tribals, they are capturing us. So that's very, very interesting. So I not want to go into those details, but what you learn, that's what in Kannada, very famous proverb. So Desha Sutinodu Kosha Odinodu, that is very clear that. So when you travel across the different landscape, from the field, from lab, go to field, the scenario is completely different. Same thing applied to the whatever research we have been doing, whether do the research in the field level, sorry, in the farm level, and research field level, that when take into the scalable options, and you change the entire landscape approach there. So it's very clear on that concept, how best we can move this, sorry, the reverse. So we talk a lot about the health. When it talks about the medicinal aromatic plants and healthy food systems, the first comes to the health. Health is just not about the health of the human beings, it's health of the entire system, what we call One Health, right? So I was coming back to India, then I started looking into everyone talking about India is becoming the diabetic capital of the world. And when I look into the statistics, that's very alarming. It is sitting on actually the time bomb. And nearly about 40 crore people diabetic and prone to diabetic, and 30 crore people the cancer are prone to cancer, plus others, so many other chronic diseases. And often all these linked to the very clear that is our food we eat, right? So that's the very clear message. Yesterday I learned a lot of that. So that whether you wanted to make a food as a medicine or medicine as the food, and it's very intrinsic into that one, very clear that when we eat a good food, medicine is not required. When you not eat a good food, and medicine also not works. So that is what the entire the landscape level approach is required to in order to address this what you call holistic system health. And that again starts from the roots of what we grow the plants and what they can help into our gut biome, and that link to our brain health. That's for holistic health. So this is where we always looking into how our gut biome. During the COVID is very clear that Indians is not suffered, or people used to the close to nature, eating a natural food and diversified food. And as a healthy person, we require about 400 to 500 food elements in a month in order to keep our gut biome healthy. This is where the maps and crop diversity play the vital role. And yesterday only I wrote an article about government of India's, they're looking to that, about 17,000 crores they're investing to the biofortification of the food. Just a rice, adding iron to the rice, they're spending that much. So my rebuttal is that why not you spend so much of the money to the biofortification in the rice rather than invest that into the diversifying the landscape, so bring the more crops into the diets that has the more benefits. So this is very clear that message when look into the global perspective of how our food industry is now. So that is what the present context of the food industry as per the Leeds Lancet Commissions. So we are eating the more non-vegetarian food, and it's not just a matter of the non-vegetarian food. There's a climate impact on them. Their impact on the natural resources is one side, but everyone know that one antimicrobial resistance became a wider spread across the people eating that one. So because of they adding a lot of the antibiotics in the feed to avoid the diseases in the later stages, but that add back magnification in the feed and leads to the meat, so that's now AMR became a wider spread, and people looking for the alternative meats. That's the plant-based meats, right? So that's where I see the huge potential of horticulture and these MAPS industry focusing on that. So that's what, as per the Lancet commissions of the 65 scientists across the world come together, that at least half of our plates should have fruits and vegetables, fresh foods, and the other half eat whatever the junk food you can eat, doesn't matter. But look into that framework I put into the how the maps, the dryland play the vital role. I'm not going to go the details on that one, but in a nutshell, they are going to play the vital role. So it's very clear that when the gut biome and what you eat, you become and are interlinked each other. So that whenever you want to do something very interesting work, we never say that it's the mind feeling, it's got gut feeling, right? So that's what the gut and mind is connected each other. So that's again linked to the diversity of the food we eat. So this is where clearly indication of that why diversity of the food is become. During the Green Revolution, we focused on more on the calorie centric, so that how much you can produce the more calories, and so that in that process we lost massive amount of the diversity. So this is one of the assessment. Look into that one amount of the, for example, take a tomato, squash, or radish, and cucumbers. And if you go to the village as a child, in the market, every farmer used to have their own tomato varieties, right? Something for the chutney, something for rasam, something for the palle, or something. Now, like hardly few varieties ruling the entire landscape. Any one disease comes, then the entire collapses the market. So, but that is the diversity of 80 to 90% diversity of agriculture we lost. So that's impacting the overall sustainable framework we're talking about, right? So this is very clear on that. One health and system health, what you call about it, the G20, there's a nation's message to clear to the world that we need to work for the one earth and one health. And there's one health system is about not health of the people, it's health of the entire ecosystem. So this is where the diversity, the way we produce the food and consume and dispose links to the how the sustainable development we are going to address. That's where you can look into that soil health and plant diversity, and the center is the water. So they interconnected each other. So community is the power here, and how to do that. So again, I look into the SDGs very closely. We talk a lot about the problems. I'm not talking about the problem at all. We look into the solutions, what we can do it, right? So I think this process is very clear. And when you look into the unsustainable value chain, broken food systems, border losses, and climate change, and when you're trying to address that through the SDGs framework, we are trying to put the 17 SDGs separately. Okay, someone work on nutrition, someone work on the climate change, someone work on the health, someone work on the labor, or like employment, but they are interlinked to each other. And that interlinking framework is healthy ecosystems we have. So that's what you need to focus on that. So in this process, it's really clear that when I started looking into the why drylands. So that we work on the first, we did, as my postdoc work, I did mapping the global irrigated areas, right? We're traveling across the world to mapping the quantification of the irrigated areas, then come out that one, rainfed is the more area than irrigated area, then I end up in mapping the global rainfed areas. So in that process, very clear that most of our good food, what's called diversity of food, is coming from rainfed areas, not from irrigated areas. From irrigated areas, growing only rice, wheat, or only few sugarcane, something like that, but diversity is coming from the dryland areas. So it's very clear that one drylands is not just about the crop diversity, and it's also the other species. Take an example of bees and pollinators, and they are also vital forces here. So loss of the dryland crops and dryland diversity because of the most of the nectar yielding plants is coming from the dryland systems. And secondly, the honey, nectar, and any derivatives coming from that systems is much higher nutraceutical value as a nutrition value than anything else, but not that only. Because of those species, they play a vital role in our evolutionary process. Changing the pollen from one plant to other plant, exchange of the gene pool there, I think this is where we're losing in the monocropping system. So this is what, when we started looking into the mapping the global drylands, when working there, that's nearly about 45% of global drylands we still now. India is one predominantly the dryland crops. And there is, I'm sure, like I'm not going to talk about this species diversity, But while doing my PhD, we did the mapping of the entire India's the agrobiodiversity and biological richness areas. Very clear that we have massive amount of the biodiversity is there. So, but we have a threat here as well, so that drylands are expanding. So when I was doing about 15 years ago study, we did mapping the drylands. Then later we did about 2015 when mapping the dry arc, and the last year we look at the 45%. So the 37, 41, or 45%. So that's these are the expanding reasons. What you can see, dry areas from the 20 to 25, but I not have a map for the recent one, but maybe one more wider than this. So while looking to the, working in the dry areas of the world, and we initiated is called a dry arc, right? So this is what we call a entire the dry arc system. And when looking to the dry arc, this is the massive amount of the populations depend on the dry arc, including the livestock and the crop diversity. Look into most of our center of the diversity, they fall into that one what you call a fertile crescent that's gone vanished. The number of reasons, I don't want to go details of the why we lost that. The what called Roman Empire, Mayan Empire, Mesopotamian. Look at all things they went to the, when they shifted from the diversity to the monocropping system, this collapsed landscape. So that's history keep on telling that, but again we're doing the same thing. So it is sixth extinction we are heading towards that one. You look at NASA studies of the cryosphere, it's very clear that one we are heading that directions. But there is upon to do that one. We are sitting in the perfect storm, what you call that. Look at all that, the diversity, the monocropping diversity, so it's called losing the diversity because of this monocropping systems, and hunger and malnutrition, that is a very prevalent. This is really the hope for us to be do that where the India can the vital role, right? So when I came to India about 2 years ago, after 25 years working in different part of the world, and the first things we did about what are the diversity of landscape in the India. So looking to the back to the, our PhDs and DAS DBT funded project about 20 years ago, revisiting that one, look to the where are the tree species gone. Nearly lost massive amount of the trees in the agricultural landscape, and trees are the also supportive for the most of the map species, not about the tree, even from bark they growing, from the lichens to in the root systems and the surrogate around the trees. So there's so many other species they surrogates. That is what we're losing, that's a tree landscape. And when looking at that one, it is very clear that we have a diversity at a deficits. So that we're losing the diversity massive scale, right? So often to talk about reintroducing, rewilding. Yesterday we were talking about a lot of the economically viable, ecologically sustainable map species. I see all the chemical compounds coming there. We're trying to address the particular disease or whole thing, but how best we can improve our overall health? When you restore the landscape to the what you call pre-industrial era, you don't need to worry about all these diseases and pests what you're talking about. Because of even our entire 5U, what you called the Panchabhutas, they are already destroyed. Even earlier you talk about a lot on that, okay, the food is become poison, later water become poison, then air become poison, now light become poison as well, because of when sitting in the cities, everyone the vitamin D3 deficiency, check your the vitamin D, everyone, because of even you're not getting the clear light, the same with our cosmic rays too. So it is the where my journey started with mapping the phytodiversity, later become biological richness map of the India, about almost like 20 years ago. I published probably in 2019, that's the 2009. And then later that turned into the kind of mapping the entire Indian diversity of the communities, and what are the different communities, because trying to link the community and the biological richness and disturbance index and mapping the diversity landscape. And I'll come back on the later on what we did in the detail level. But in that processes, we identify massive amount of from the literature, because of the Botanical Survey of India, Dr. Hazira was one of the key person involved in these projects to identify the maps of species. And but later I look into the more into the agrobiodiversity, and we are not growing all the species. We are to identify it as a food value, economic value, medicinal value, aromatic value, and but we are only growing the only few crops. So when I did a very interesting study with when in US, asked one of the school kids to go to your internet, find the fruits and vegetables. So that's the picture you can see. Even you can do that in India also. The children come out to the only that banana, apple, orange, cauliflower, cabbage, and cucumber, all those things, and none of them basically our food anyway. So, but when I look into our farm diversity, so that is the massive diversity we have. So we lost that one. So those are the water guzzling crops to the water efficient cropping systems, and nutrition less density, high nutrition density, low nutraceutical value to the high nutraceutical value, so that everywhere looking at that one, so those are the high value crops we are talking about. So it's very clear on that when I start looking at the COVID times and why some communities are suffering more or the prone to the viruses and even small changes in the season than the other communities. And in the US, because of it, forced to take a flu vaccines. One time I took the flu vaccines, I suffered badly. Then later than I never took in my life vaccines. So because of how we are eating so much of diversified food, our body is already immune to the many things. Adding anything will repel so bad. So that is the same thing. Start looking into the gut biome and diet diversity and the way we respond to nature, the closer to the nature. Yesterday, so he was telling, Eric, thank you so much for you are coming out reintroducing the last diversity to the nature. We cannot go to the nature, but can you bring the elements of the nature with us? So that's really kind of things we need to go into that directions. And I was going through this kind of the Ayush Ministry's traditional food recipes, and we found that, okay, so much of the diversity required to even cook our traditional recipes we not have, right? We wanted to go something, go back to our grandmother who used to cook like this. We cook now, we not get the same taste because of you not ingredient and quality of ingredients not there. So that's what we have to go back to the, started looking to the, like I was in Himachal Pradesh when doing the biodiversity mapping. So this way I did my PhD as well. Gap analysis and the dwindling diversity is so prevalent. When you go to the hilly areas, Pahadi logs, so you can go sit with them, and I see there's so much of the rajma, types of rajma they're eating it. So this is about nearly more than, this is from Uttarakhand, about more than 50 types of the kidney beans, what called rajma. And how many people saw that so many colors of rajmas? You see only on the red or something like that. And that is then that's one side. When I started looking, connecting that with my grandma's lifestyle, right? So we have to be so many pulses, the land restriction sitting in the home. No, for undi gidu beku, karchike gidu beku, within holigi madak beku. So they have a lot of the varieties, they go to specific purposes. Right now we are only 1 or 2 varieties to grow for every purposes. So we lost that diversity. That's just why I'm giving example here that one, because of these crops all are growing in the rainfed system, they're not irrigating them. We are spoiling, bringing them to making the high yielding to produce well at the cost of its values, nutritional value. And it's not showing here. Okay, so this is one, when US, I was living in the Midwest, it's very dry areas, no irrigations. And buying organic food in US is very expensive. Like one capsicum cost $1, but while a pound of a meat costs about $1 also. Then I started looking why it's so, meat is so cheap and vegetables so expensive. Then there's a big story, but cut it short. I thought, why not have a half-acre garden in my backyard? Then I started growing 8 by 8 square feet, started my experiment there. You produce so much of the 15 types of vegetable in that 8 square feet. This much of the vegetables are growing that my daughter holding that different types of the carrots. Do you able to get that carrots? Anyone see the 7 types of the carrots? This is a rich in the all things you talk about nutritional values, medicinal values. That's what the original carrots they looks like. So I started looking into those different diversity of what I grow. I grow near about 237 vegetables in the backyard itself. Then I said, I can do so much in the single small area in the backyard. Why can't do that in natural farming system? That's what leads to comes to the Middle East. I choose the Middle East because they're suffering a lot of the issues, like war, crimes, food security, all things. That's what chosen. So they started looking into that's not just going back to what we grow, but what growing the good or producing the sustainable agriculture practice, what can it brings back, right? So they started looking into all the production systems in the past 100 years or so, we only focus on the productions, right, at the cost of the natural resources. Then later started talking about some ecosystem services and now well-being, but without looking at the structure and functions. Any functional production systems requires a healthy soils, diversity, whether it is a livestock, whether it is a crops, whether trees, and ecosystem diversity, all this should be interlinked to each other, so that diversity of crops, trees, animals is the source of the rich systems. And when that system restored, so that services will become by default. This is where you're going to clean up our entire farming system. We need to look into grow more health per acre. I think that is what we need to do, while addressing what are the other benefits you can get it. We talk about the farmers do sustainable farming, good agriculture practices, and restorations, everything talk about, but are they getting the benefits? We're not giving. What farmers can sell, that also uncertain is their price. And as Dr. Rao telling that, asking the students to go and grow this one, but they come out that no one is buying because of we are not good in the marketing, good in the producing, good in the creating the values. When I was sitting in the Texas A&M, Dr. Bibu Patil, he took his lab, taking the vegetable, extracting so much of the phytochemicals, taking so much of patents, making the millions of dollars. Why can't we do the same thing here? So this is where they started the journey to bring that lost diversity, so that we started is like a green economic transitions. Our target is 2070. We need to produce the more economic transitions. We're expecting that $10 trillion economy next 10 years, 1 decade, are they were going to meet? Of course we are going to meet, there's no doubt in that. But what would be that cost on our environment? Are we going to be healthier, more healthier people? We're addressing 150 CEOs. Ask the question, how many people sitting in the rooms as a diabetic? Everyone was a diabetic. So I thought, what do you do with money? Can you invest that money to the something to grow better, the landscape restorations? That's why we started this initiative called the Global Green Growth. Even the NIMS are also the part of this one, and I'm inviting a lot of people to be part of them, and this is framework. So the idea here that when they started looking at the different models, are they really valuable? Because I took the same, the Abdul Kalamji, so he was our teacher as well. So how he transferred the nuclear testing in India. So rather than going to every time blasting something in the desert or the oceans, and they came to the machine learning computer simulations, right? Fusion reactions, what happens, this amount of the nuclear, the fusion reaction happens. System, same thing adopted here to that one, because of the most of the long duration crops like a trees, horticulture species, not like a crop, you can grow 3 months, I can know that whether they're doing well or not, I can replace. But in these long-term crops, often farmers don't know that what's going to happen to the crops after 5 years. So we started growing those things to understand that how they behave in the long term, so that we can simulate that one. This is what when adding the sum of this medicinal aromatic plant into the existing the farming system, the corn, the agroforest-based corn system, what they produce 60K, that return comes in the first 3 years, but first 1 year, 2 year will be losses because of investing more, but subsequent year increase that one. So this kind of the simulation is required to understand where the advantages in terms of what is the input cost and what is the yield, whether going to the yield losses or not. So yesterday sitting with the minister talking about all the rice areas destroying, we come out with a very interesting the mechanizations and precision farming, as well as entire holistic system to replace the flooded rice with a dry direct seeding rice system. So that is there, that one increasing the yield. And most important, whether revenues increase or not, along with that one, what is my more focus should be how much water you can save, right? So that is very important. Shifting monocropping to the agroecosystems, you can, that is the amount of 50% water saving. So that is very crucial for us. We are sitting in the diversity, why the drylands are going to play a vital role. And soil erosion, because of any water comes and flow away, and most of the 90% of the surface run up, along with you lose everything. So how much water going to that? That's then look to the biodiversity. That's where the very important. So looking at the transition pathway, I don't know. So chairman, so how much time is there? I not want to take extra minute. Okay, so this is good. So this is where we started looking into the whole framework, but looking at the simplistic way, this is how that looks, and bringing back to the healthy ecosystems, they play the vital role. And this is where the big data analytic, machine learning, blockchain, so that when I look into the very details into the particular medicinal aromatic plants they're growing, so aggregation is very important, and then segregation of the produces, then the finding the right market, and the traceability is very important. That's what we call GI, whatever you call it, geographic identity. But traceability, because we have very clear estate indicator, the indication that most of the medicinal aromatic plants people consume when there is no existence of that particular substance or a particular plant and is not there. But who know that where is it really there or not? Is there any actions taken on that one? Even often we're producing so much of the estimation of the medicinal aromatic plant and productions, but we don't know where the area are there, where they're coming from, where it's coming from. So other that is where they require the geotech. So then the prospecting is also very important. This is where that is my part of my PhD. So that identifying this here diversity, we started into the mapping the communities, then the community richness, then identify the economic biological value and the diversity index. Later turn that into the kind of a bioprospecting, right? Where are you can prospect, where you can conserve them, where you can harvest them, looking into the those biological richness map and overlaid into the existing the protected areas. We did the gap analysis. So where you can do that one? Often there is most of the traditional conservation boundaries, they shifted because of the climate change, number of reasons. Then we look into the real boundaries, that one, for example, some of the conservation boundaries sitting here, but hardly there any biological diversity because of sometimes you conserve only one species. Something like a musk deer. Oh, let's put a musk deer conservation. Musk deer, they used to be here. They used to be here, they moved away because of the change in the landscape or the destruction of the habitat. But our traditional government defined boundaries is still there. So like that happening with a number of species conservations without mapping. That's why mapping, identifying those systems and very essential. Then often we create that, okay, oh, this is a very good medicinal aromatic plant, let's do it, very high compound and high volatility, the resources here. We can turn that into kind of commercial thing, but when trying to go this one, we found that that's not growing everywhere. Their region of the extent is very small. So niche mapping is very, very important. Any extent of the species, into the scaling, we have to do the niche mapping, right? Because of in the drylands, when you compare the biodiversity mapping or the identifying the species richness, we are looking to the one side, for example, Northeast India we're focusing, Western Ghats we're focusing, because of the still the vegetation intact, we're not disturbed there. But come back to the dry areas, for example, Deccan Plateau. There used to be very high diversity. We cleaned everything to the growing the crops, then you see that we have no species diversity. But look into the particular, the species origin there, and look into the traceability back, then look into the niche mapping, then come out that one, so much of the overlapping of those species, they're not existing, but they are potential to grow there. I think that is the very, very critical to this one. So this is where the success of any industry, we're looking at that one, we have to create the stimulate the demand, then make it expand the affordability. I think the two things very, very important. So that's why we started looking into that one. First, mapping the niche mapping of those species, what we call economically viable, ecologically sustainable, and the high impact on the health, overall health of the people, because of someone who had to buy them. So then looking at where that can grow, and whether that really, when growing the particular species there, whether they have the yielding the same original compound the yielding. For example, santalum, right? So talking about this morning lecture, and the sandal, we grow the sandal. So, but now market is hardly getting. We are projected market is very high, but farmers going to sell that one hardly make any profit. We suffer heavily in that. And again, Australians sending their sandals to our master factory. There's not the same santalum content. Same thing happening with number of species. So that when the creator, the God created a particular species with a given location, it has its location specific. We're expanding. Of course, you can grow. Putting the ICU, person sitting in the Siberia can also survive. Go to the hard desert can survive because of the additional support system we have. But plants do not have that one. But that's what the breeding can really brings it. But whether you can retain the quality, that is where the key area for that local intelligence and indigenous knowledge and wisdom. That's what STA focused very much on that. I think we have to be tap into that one, and then create the something, the food systems. It's what you call a number of ways you can do it, but we need to bring that. After traveling across about 50, 60, 70 countries, I found that India has the real endeavor, all the ingredients required to lead the world and the heritage food systems. We need to build that one, so I quickly go through a few slides, so that we have so much of the land diversity, we can bring it back in the rainfed systems. And farm resort concept are talking about that. Why not the people, all people come to cities, why not to go back? How best to create that? So all these models are one completely dry areas, less than 500 millimeter rainfall. We can create so much of the diversity while looking at the ecological balance of the species, the integrations, and while digital technology evolving very rapidly, and blockchain technology is very important for whatever traceability is you're talking about, and that's the one of the future of machine learning, AI, blockchain technology really going to make it address the things. So it's very clear that one best investment parents can do for the children, taking them to nature. I think that we shouldn't forget that, and that is where the roadmap. I'm talking about a lot of these different, the ecological balance of the medicinal plants, aromatic plants growing in the cover crop in the orchards, and even our home garden. This is the you can visit my house there, and nearly 50 species growing next to the house. And any given time, at least 1 or 2 fruits and the herbs and medicinal plants, you can get it. You don't go outside to buy them. And the same thing can transfer into farming system level, and even they are become very resilient. This is our farm during the last year, with the severe drought and yielding so much. And we should be balancing that ground cover with the medicinal aromatic plant, So that's one lot of a huge amount of tax of the lands. They're sitting the idle, so that why not to bring investment landscape to turn that to the high potential areas. So including in the urban landscape, even like a deserts, when I work with a second holding there in Egypt, and entire sand turned into the highly the effective the system, and why not to do that same thing? Then you can do number of way. Even during the COVID, a lot of the graduates came that one, so that sir, I not a job, what you can do. They did the natural farming, turmeric and other things. They made so much of the profit. I counted them into every dollar they spent, so they made a profit. So there is a scalable models are there. Transfer the landscape. More than nearly 3,000 species of what is required is evidence-based driven, and that is the rural transformation required. Collective actions, and this is what we need to do in the big scale. That is the investment comes into picture. Until we drive very systematic way of the investment, and I learned this a lot from the global perspective, and whether Chinese or French or even Americans, they hold that one, look into the detailed studies, then bring it to the scalable models, then come the investment. It's very clear that this pathway very clear. Transition pathway into the medicinal aromatic plant as a big industry, and while addressing the nature and sustainability is become a vital forces. And this is what the vision is to talk about 2030, at least our 30% of our food plates should be have a healthy diets that constitute what are the where pulses, cereals, medicinal aromatic plants. So thank you so much.